Welcome back to the Cyber Strategix Beginners full course. This is Module 3, Networking Basics for Security. Don't worry, we're keeping this friendly and jargon light. Once you understand how devices talk to each other, a huge amount of security suddenly makes sense. Let's demystify the network. Here's why this module matters. So much of security lives on the network. Firewalls, encryption, VPNs, attacks like eavesdropping. If the network is a black box to you, all of that stays confusing. But learn just the basics, and it all clicks into place. You don't need to be a network engineer. You need the big picture. Here's the plan. How networks actually work. IP addresses and ports. The addresses and doors of the internet. How the web works, from typing a name to loading a page. And the defenses that protect your network. Let's build it up step by step. Let's start simple. A network is just a group of devices connected so they can share information. Your home Wi-Fi is a small local network, or LAN. The internet is simply a vast network of networks, all linked together. And when you send anything, a message, a photo, a web request, it gets broken into small chunks called packets that travel separately and are reassembled at the other end. That's the whole idea. To deliver data, the network needs an address. That's the IP address. Think of it as the street address of a device. But a device runs many services at once, so we also need ports. Think of a port as a specific door or room at that address. Web traffic uses one port, email another. When you hear about closing ports or a firewall blocking a port, this is what it means: shutting doors that don't need to be open. Networking is organized into layers, which sounds scary but is actually helpful. Here's the simple version. At the top, the application layer. Your apps, like a web browser. Below that, transport, which uses TCP or UDP and those ports we mentioned. Then the internet layer, where IP addresses and routing live. And at the bottom, the link layer, the actual Wi-Fi or cables. Data travels down these layers on your device, across the internet, and back up on the other side. The full academic version is the 7-layer OSI model, worth knowing later. But this 4-layer picture is enough to start. Let's trace visiting a website. First, DNS, the internet's phone book, turns the name you typed into an IP address. Then your browser uses HTTP, or better, HTTPS, to request the page from that address. And that padlock you see means HTTPS is on, encrypting the connection so no one in between can read it. 3 quiet steps happening in milliseconds every time you browse. A few secure protocols do the heavy lifting. HTTPS, powered by TLS, secures your web traffic. Always look for it. A VPN wraps all your traffic in an encrypted tunnel, useful on untrusted networks. And SSH gives secure, encrypted remote access to systems, mostly for tech folks. The common theme: encryption turns readable data into gibberish for anyone who intercepts it. Now the defenses. A firewall is a gatekeeper that controls what traffic is allowed in and out, blocking those unnecessary open doors. Segmentation means splitting the network into zones, like putting your smart devices on a separate guest network so a hacked gadget can't reach your laptop. And Wi-Fi security means using strong encryption, WPA3 today, never the ancient, broken WEP. These are the pillars of a safe network. Finally, how attackers exploit the network. Eavesdropping or sniffing, reading traffic that isn't encrypted, which is exactly why HTTPS matters. A distributed denial of service, or DDoS, flooding a service with traffic until it collapses. And DNS spoofing, corrupting that phone book so you're sent to a fake site instead of the real one. Notice how each of these is defeated by the basics: encryption, filtering, and trusted DNS. Here's the security mindset for networks. Assume the network is hostile, because you often can't see who else is on it or who runs it. So encrypt everything, stick to HTTPS, use a VPN on public Wi-Fi, and never send anything sensitive over an unencrypted connection. Treat the network as untrusted by default, and you're already thinking like a security pro. Let's make it practical. Here's how to lock down your home network. Change the router's default admin password. Use WPA3, or at least WPA2, and never WEP or an open network. Update the router's firmware. Put your smart devices on a separate guest network. Turn off remote administration and universal plug-and-play if you don't use them. And always check for HTTPS before you log into anything. That wraps Module 3. You now understand the pipes, how data flows, what IP addresses and ports are, how the web works, and how encryption and firewalls protect it. With that foundation, the rest of security stops being mysterious. Understand the plumbing, and the defenses make perfect sense. That's Module 3. Subscribe and keep going. In Module 4, we tackle the front door of security: passwords, multi-factor authentication, passkeys, and controlling who gets access to what. See you there.